Don't you hate it when there's something that comes out that you just can't resist buying? Well, it happens to me a lot, and I've shown a lot of restraint over the years not buying things that I really don't need. They might be really cool or sound great, especially with microphones. For me, microphones are one of those things that I have a code. Get more out of your gear, which is a very strong part of my creed on this channel. And also, if I'm going to buy something, I'm going to actually use it. And this is one of those things. Welcome back to the Rebel Tech channel. I'm Justin, and in this video we're going to be talking about a new dynamic microphone by Presonus and figuring out if it could replace some of your industry standard broadcast microphones that have been used for a very long time, and this one kind of looks familiar to one of them. But before we get started, if you have any questions, comments, or anything whatsoever about this microphone, about gear in general, or anything whatsoever, please leave it down in the comments section down below. I'll be happy to answer your questions, have a conversation, or anything you guys want to talk about. If you want to talk to me or ask me directly, I stream every Saturday afternoon on this channel for about an hour, and then I switch over to my Twitch channel where I play some games, talk to you guys, and answer questions. Also, if you found this video helpful, entertaining, or anything whatsoever, please leave a like and consider subscribing. Alright, so the Presonus PD-70 dynamic cardioid broadcast microphone. It looks very familiar, right? It really does look like a Shure SM7B. They were certainly inspired by that microphone. And the tone, you notice that it's a lower budget microphone, but with a little bit of tweaking on the EQ and a little bit of love on the back end, you could get it kind of close, especially if you're using this thing for broadcast online or anything that is giving you that compression that takes down the quality of your audio. Now, just because it was inspired by the SM7B doesn't mean that they did it wrong. They did it justice. This thing looks amazing. It has a sturdy structure, nice matte black, simple. That's what I love. I love the logo that juts out a little bit like Audio-Technica does. And it's sleek, it's sexy. I love the look, I love the feel, and it sits on a stand like a Rode PSA-1 that it's on right now, or any boom arm that you might have very well, has a nice stance, and looks good. A lot of people, like for example, if you were to use this microphone for your broadcast, or whatever it may be, people are not going to necessarily notice it being much different than the Shure SM7B, as far as the look. They might notice it with the sound, but most people are just listening to podcasts on their phone or listening to it on their computer with horrible speakers, horrible headphones, that you're really wasting your time with those nice microphones. As an audio guy, it kind of makes me sad and a little teardrop here, but that's the world we live in. If you're recording in a professional studio, you might think twice of using this one and use the Shure SM7B. Now, before we go a little bit further with the build and the specifics on the build, let's show this thing off with a little bit of stream beats in the background. So as you saw in that montage, and the sweet music by Stream Beats, Harris Heller does a great job with putting out good music that's royalty free. Everyone can use it. This is not sponsored by it, but just so you know, it's available. I'll leave links to Stream Beats on YouTube, Spotify, and downloadable links on his Discord. So just so you know, it's available for you guys to use without having issues on copyright stuff, which is a hot topic nowadays. So I have some dimensions for you. Unfortunately, the website and the manual, maybe I didn't see it, but they don't show the dimensions. It is 5 7/8, so that adds on 4/8, or actually that's a half an inch. 4/8. What a dummy. And 2 3/8 is still, the widest point is still 2 3/8 because the windscreen does not affect that. Now, this does not include the arm because this is just the microphone. But if you want to know, with the bracket, it adds on an inch. So if you were to put it straight, that's what it would be. So you tack on an extra inch with that. Chances are you're probably not going to have to worry about it because this is the length you're worried about. So as far as the weight, it's kind of heavy on the back end. It's surprisingly back heavy. This metal part here is where all the weight is. The capsule here, so if you were to take the pop filter off, you see, oh, voila, it looks just like a Shure SM7B under the hood. So this part here is where all the weight is. The front, not so much. So I did a little bit of weight comparison with the PodMic, which is a very heavy microphone, which is over 900 grams. And if I was to put an educated guess onto it, I would say it's between 500 and 600 grams. That being said, with the weight, I could say about 80% of it is behind this pop filter. All right, so let's get into some techie talk, as I like to call it. This is basically the specs. So, as I said in the intro, this is a cardioid polar pattern, pretty standard, nothing too crazy with the polar pattern. It's pretty, like, as the British say, bog standard cardioid polar pattern. The other thing that they give you is a output impedance of 350 ohms, pretty standard for this type of microphone. If you want to know what ohms are, let me know down in the comments. I'm not going to get into that. I might put out a video about ohms and about what the output impedance is, but I'm not going to get into it. So if you want to know, you could look it up, or you could ask me down in the comments. And if you want a video about it, please let me know. So the last and final thing that we're going to go over about the specs, and it's probably the most important thing when it comes to microphones, at least in my opinion, is the frequency response curve. So as you can see in this frequency response curve, it has a little bit of a roll off around like the 40 to 80-ish kind of range. Pretty standard for a dynamic microphone to have a roll off like that. There's a little bit of an extra bump in there, but not a big deal. As we get to about 100, it starts to level off with a little bit of bumps here and there. Still, not a big deal. It's not too drastic like we have in the Rode PodMic, which I noticed had a very big bump in its midsection, which could consider it a little bit muddy. It could be fixed in post, and it could be fixed in a lot of post-processing, but as it's coming out of the microphone raw, you will have some muddiness out of that Rode PodMic. This here is much more flat, and you notice that it has a dip again at about 300, which can help a little bit with that muddiness, if depending on your voice, where your voice lands on the spectrum of the frequency response curve. My voice usually is in the low mids. If you look at a EQ or a parametric EQ, where it shows like where the sound waves are going, I'm right around that like 200 range, where my voice stands, because I have a lower voice. There are times where my voice wanders into the mids, but definitely something that is nice with this microphone, to have that little bit of dip to cut out some of the mids. It's not drastic, so you might need to do a little bit more in post, but it's there. Now from the 300 to about like 1,000, it's pretty standard. It's pretty steady and flat, which is really nice for a spoken word microphone like this one. Broadcast microphones, you want that flat mid section. Now that we move on to the higher frequencies, you're going to start noticing it increasing significantly and steady. So at 1K, we're going to always see a bump between 1 and 2K. And now it starts to rise up a little bit of a dip before you get to 2K. And then another steady rise from 2K to about like 4K. Then you have some peaks and valleys as you move up into the high highs. So you got a peak around 4.5, a dip around 5, a steady curve between 5 and 7, 8, and then another peak around 8K and dip at 9, and another peak at 10K or 11, around that range, where it dips off into the abyss, into the areas where your dogs can hear it. Yeah, I really love this frequency response. This is like I told you, this is probably my most important piece of specifications on a microphone that I will tell you, because it's showing how the microphone was tuned, and I really love the way this was tuned. They gave that extra presence in the high end, so that spoken words and the emphasis on the details are there naturally, and you don't have to manipulate it later on. You still are going to have to do some work, but I wouldn't have to worry about it too much. The next thing I'm going to get into is, who is this microphone for? Well, to be completely honest and keep it simple for you, people who are looking for the Shure SM7B but don't want to spend $400 on it, so saving 4 times as much money is nice. To be more specific, this is for people who are doing broadcasts, so podcasts, Twitch streaming, a YouTube channel like this one. Like, you could do a video just like this, and instead of blowing $400 on a microphone that you might not necessarily get the full value out of, this might be the option for you, and you could put that extra $300, maybe like, let's say $250 ahead to something else, like a camera, a lens, some lighting, something else. Now, I'm not saying this is going to replace the Shure SM7B. That is impossible. But it has enough presence in that high end, and the mids are very flat. Not very flat, but they're significantly flatter than a lot of other microphones like the Rode PodMic. And it will give you that nice sound, nice broadcast sound, and give you spoken words that are clear, and you don't have to worry about things being muffled or have to work so hard in your post-processing to make it sound good. So Twitch streaming, broadcast, podcasts, or YouTube videos, anything like that, if you're putting things on the internet, this is a great option. And like I said, it looks pretty sexy too. I like the simple look. It looks awesome, and I really do think it looks good on camera. So the last thing I want to do is I'm going to compare this to a couple of competitors for this microphone. The AT2020 and the Rode PodMic are certainly competitors for this microphone. And considering the fact that it does look like the Shure SM7B, that might be a plus in a lot of people's minds. Alright, we're back on the Rode PodMic, and we're going to be just talking a little bit about this little baby. I love this thing. I love the way it looks, and I love the sound that it gives. But the problem is, you gotta give it a little bit of love on the back end to make it sound just right. I've had it where times where the mid sounded a little wonky, and if I forgot to throw some EQ on it, it might sound a little bit weird. With this Presonus one, there's a little less work, so that's something to consider. But you are paying a little bit more, so is that little bit more worth the little less work on the back end? Alright, we are on the AT2020, and this is a obviously condenser microphone, so I had to throw on some phantom power for it. And it's a totally different sound, has a little bit more presence in the high ends, and gives you that condenser microphone sound, if that makes any sense. If you're watching this video, chances are you understand what a condenser microphone sound is. And if you don't, well, there you go. This is a difference between dynamic and a condenser microphone. This is your pretty standard condenser microphone. In my mind, this is the cheapest one you should buy. This one will last you a very, very long time. It doesn't have a pop filter on it right now because I was too lazy to put it on, but you should have a pop filter as well on every condenser microphone. Alright, so some final thoughts on this microphone, and obviously I can't compare it to a Shure SM7B, and as you can see, you could handle this microphone with very minimal noise. If I just tap it lightly. And it's one of those microphones that you could really do a good job and get a good broadcast out of. I really enjoy the sound of this microphone. Obviously, I've only had it for like a week. Actually, it's only been like 4 or 5 days, but almost a week. And throughout the time that I'm going to test it in the next coming weeks, you can come check this out on my stream. And I'm going to be knowing within the next 2 weeks if this is going to replace my Rode PodMic on my stream. And I'll obviously let you guys know, give you maybe like a 2 maybe month update on what I'm doing and if this is my streaming microphone for the future. Also, if you want to watch some Shure SM7B examples to compare the tones, Podcastage is a very good option. He does excellent microphone reviews, quick, to the point. I watch all his stuff of microphones that I'm interested in. Obviously, I can't watch all of them because he does a ton. So he has one. There are a ton of other ones. So keep an ear out for them. Keep an eye out for them. And do some research. Don't just take my word for it. Do some research. So thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked that video, please hit the like button down below and consider subscribing for more videos that are coming out in the future about microphones, about this one in particular, and any type of gear that you guys want to talk about. If you have any questions, comments, or want a video about anything in particular, let me know down in the comments, and I will be answering questions, talking to you guys, just having nice conversations like we have. Everybody has been so nice and really great in the comments, so I appreciate this community being so cordial and kind. And if you want to ask me more directly, I stream on this channel every Saturday afternoon, only once a week now because I'm trying to work on this channel a little bit more. So if you want to check out my stream, it's about an hour about here, doing some just random stuff, just talking to you guys, maybe doing some drawing and things like that. Then I move over to my Twitch stream where I play some games, talk to you guys, answer questions, and all that jazz. So until next time, be safe, be kind. If you go out, please wear a mask, and I will see you in the next video. What I'm doing ain't working. It worked for a while, and now it's just gone tits up.